I was on my way up a major highway from Atlanta, Georgia, up to the North Georgia mountains, beautiful mountains. The beginning of the Blue Ridge, which run all the way from the south, from Georgia, all the way up into Maine. Many people have hiked what they call the Appalachian Trail. Anyway, I was driving one day up that major highway just outside of Atlanta, and I saw a billboard advertising a church. And here's how that billboard read: "Come be a part of one of the fastest growing churches in the nation today." As I pondered the message of that billboard, I recognized what a powerful hook that really was. Significantly enough, this church is located, situated around houses that cost anywhere from $500,000 and above. And I realized what a hook it was, because people in our society today are hungry for success. In fact, some time ago I had listened to a TED Talk. And I don't remember the speaker, but he was talking about millennials today and Gen Xers and how one of the things they hunger for is success. Frankly, I was a bit surprised by that, because I've always thought that Gen Xers had sort of gone beyond that. They had seen what their parents, us boomers, had achieved, had done in life, and realized that we still weren't happy. And I thought maybe this newer generation has forgotten about that, but it seems that success is such a vital part of our culture that it's still a powerful, powerful tool, advertising tool, to bring people in. People want to be winners. Whether it's our college football team or the NFL, the hockey team, the soccer team, whatever it is, all of us want to identify with the winners, the successful people in life. Now, the truth is that as a young man, I was just as ambitious and I was just as hungry for worldly success as anybody I know. I went to two major universities in the United States, received a Bachelor of Science, and then received an MBA in finance. And I went to work as a young man for a large Fortune 500 company. And there at that company, putting in about 80 hours a week, I was competing for a promotion slot where only two of us on this fast-track MBA program would receive that promotion. And interestingly enough, I did receive the promotion. But by the time I got that promotion, I had made a major life decision, and I chose to leave the business world and its pursuit of success and instead enter into ministry. It's an interesting story. I think I've shared parts of it before, but let me just briefly share with you today what happened. My brother Dwayne, who's 12 years older than me, was living in Scotland. He was a pastor for the Church of Scotland. And God spoke to Dwayne, and God led Dwayne down to Orlando, Florida, where I was living, to encourage me to commit my life to the Lord. I had made a commitment to Christ years before, but I wasn't in church. I wasn't living the kind of life that I should be living as a follower of Jesus Christ, and I had just sort of lost my way. And Dwayne prayed for me, and the long and short of that prayer is, within just a few weeks after he left, I was in church. A renewal of a calling that had begun in my life as early as 12 years old was back and beating strongly within me. And I ended up giving up that career in business, moving from Orlando, Florida to Fort Worth, Texas, and beginning what was the first of 2 degrees in divinity to become a pastor. And I learned a lot during those days. I learned a lot about the importance of success and what success really means. I can't tell you that when I left the business world and entered into ministry, I just left the idea of success behind. Not at all. I'll tell that story later. But I was still very ambitious. I wanted to pastor the biggest and the best churches, to make a name for myself as a pastor. But over a period of years, as God is so inclined to do, the Lord graciously allowed me to undergo some experiences and to just in my life get beat up a little bit. And through that process, I learned something about humility, and I learned something about what true success in life really is. I want to read to you from the words of the Apostle Paul, found in the New Testament book of Philippians, chapter 4, beginning in verse 11. Paul says, "I'm not saying this because I am in need," and now listen, "for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength." I want you to notice something very significant here about the Apostle Paul, a man who left the prestige and the prominence that he had as a Jewish rabbi. Many believe Paul likely served on the Sanhedrin, the 70-member Jewish ruling council. He could very well have been one of those that helped condemn Jesus to death. We know that it was Paul who stood collecting the robes of those who stoned Stephen, the first martyr of the church, to death. And we know it was Paul who sought to destroy the church of Christ. But Paul left all of those things behind. And in the process, he lost a great deal of those things in life that looked successful, that made it look and seem as if he had prestige and power and place and position, and he did. But Paul says later in his life, writing from prison in Rome on trial for his life, "I have learned to be content." Notice that. I have learned to be content. The truth of the matter is that the Apostle Paul, just like you and me, had to learn how to be content whatever the circumstances of life. And can I say to you today that one of the greatest hindrances in our world today, and one of the greatest hindrances of those seeking to follow Jesus, is we've not yet learned how to be content. And many times our idea of success, what success looks like, what we experience when we're successful, money in the bank, applause for others, maybe a lot of people at our funeral when we die. But we have not truly learned what success in life is from God's perspective. And over these next couple of episodes, as we talk about the church on the edge and life on the edge, I plan to share with you from God's Word what it truly means to be successful in life. Thanks for joining me today, and hit the like button as we share with others what it means to follow Jesus into the fullness of His kingdom and to live on the edge.